It's your girl, Lachey, co-host of Blacklights podcast, where we're here to light the path forward. Here with me is my co-host as well,
Dion Walcott, the Director of Partnerships for Pensole College, and also the founder of Marks.
So we're really excited today. We have a phenomenal person in the room with us today, Bill Jordan, with us for Blacklights podcast. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Great to be here.
Very excited to have. So for those who don't know who Bill Jordan is, he is Designer Brands brand president, has been with the company for quite a long time, I believe since 2006, right, Bill?
2006, approaching 18 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
That's phenomenal right there alone. But what's really, really exciting, and which is why we felt like it was so relevant to be able to have you on this podcast today. One, we do want to hear about your journey, but just in recent news alone, Designer Brands is invested and partnered with Pensole Lewis College of Design, Pensole Inc., to create the first Black manufacturing factory in the United States. Pause for 1 second right there.
We got a hand clap for that one.
That's a hand clap. Like, seriously. Phenomenal. I mean, just to even be here. So I just want to go back, right? Because, you know, it's all over right now. Just the release and the launch of the first shoe. But can you take us back to that initial conversation when it was just an idea?
Yeah. Well, first, so happy to be here, excited to be here, and excited to be at the Black Footwear Forum this weekend. When I first had the conversation with Dwayne about this, it was perfect timing because we were talking to somebody else about doing exactly the same thing, but not on the scale that he had in mind. And our idea was to stand up a factory in the Midwest somewhere where we could invite some young designers to come in, designers of color, to come in and make their designs and sell them sort of on a really small scale production. And as happenstance would occur, shared that idea with Dwayne and said, what do you think about this? He said, I think that's a really interesting idea. And then a week later, he called me and said, can we meet in person? And I said, sure. And Roger, who was my partner at the time at Designer Brands, he and I went and we sat with Dwayne, and he presented the full Jems idea. Not just, hey, let's get the idea of making a few pairs. Let's make a meaningful amount of pairs. Let's have a bunch of Black designers be given the opportunity, and then let's sell it, go through the whole ecosystem and sell those shoes through DSW stores.
Exactly. Wow. Okay.
And I will tell you, I think the idea is genius, and what he did, and he already had that idea. It's not, we didn't plan it, but I think he saw an opportunity for a partner who was very interested in doing something like this. But why I think it's so important, one, it provides young Black designers with an opportunity to be heard and be seen. Two, I think it extends the educational reach of what Pensole Lewis can do.
Of course.
Because it's not just about sketching something, on a pad or an iPad. It's really about seeing the whole process through. So with Jems, okay, you make your sketch, you make your design, but then you go to the factory, you see how the shoe is made. What an education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most young designers don't have the opportunity to sit in a factory and see how their product is being made. And I will tell you, that makes you a better designer. Because once you say, hey, this doesn't work this way as well.
Execute.
It might look great on paper, but when you've got to, execute that specific design into it, you recognize that, hey, that's a limitation, or I've got to do something different. And then third, then it's, okay, now I've got a product, but how do I sell that product? How do I create my brand name? How do I tell my brand story? And, and then actually have it and see it at retail, price it, and see the consumer actually buying it. That's a full experience that I don't think exists today in any industry.
It's wraparound. You can't get any better than that.
Yeah. So I'm so excited for what we're doing. The launch of the first shoe is absolute success. We launched it last week on September 15th, and we've got follow-on drops in September and October.
Wow.
So really exciting about what it's doing. I do want to emphasize a word that you said before, Lachey, around we invested into a factory, right?
Right.
And when we use that word, we literally mean invested. So we took $2 million and we formed a company together, right? This was not a charitable contribution. This was an investment. And the reason I stress that and why it's so important is we are in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a business.
Of course.
It runs through our P&L. We need this thing to be successful. We've got shareholders. We've got to make sure they
You got to be
understand.
accountable
You
to,
gotta
for
report
sure.
back to,
And the goal in this is not to make a whole bunch of money, to be totally honest. But when you're running a business, you don't want to lose money, right? And so we're gonna make sure that we're helping in every way we can to make sure that the product that these young designers are making is successful in the marketplace, and we're opening up the eyes of consumers across the country, hopefully across the world at some point, about the talent that young Black designers have that is just hidden today because their young Black designers are not a part of the footwear business in a meaningful way.
I think what's interesting to me is, like, we speak a lot about the individual designers. How does it impact the industry, what you guys are doing? Because, like, that's equally as exciting, because I see it. The designers are now empowered. They have more access than they ever had. The industry can look at it like, oh, what are you really doing? But in reality, it's an add-on. It's not, you're not taking away. So maybe speak about that.
So I talk to brands, brand presidents, brand leaderships all the time, right? And they don't look at this, to your point, Dion, they don't look at this as a competitive business. They look at this as an opportunity for them, because the more Black designers get into the industry, the more it's going to allow new creations of product, right? Because the business has been run with a small group of very talented people, but they've got their own life experiences and their own backgrounds. And by injecting new and different backgrounds and experiences and culture into the footwear business, I'm going to tell you, brands win, consumers win, because they're going to see product they've never seen before. And, I will tell you, I was in one of our showrooms this week, and one of our designers, who's a person of color, made this shoe that was like, it blew me away, just blew me away. And I'm like, this shoe does not exist in the footwear industry today, right?
It's a brand new category, pretty much.
Wow.
Right.
Like, I'd wear that. I want to wear that.
Yeah.
Get me one of the production samples so I can be wearing it and be the first out there. So I just think, to your point, Dion, it's going to open up these avenues for the brands, for customers, consumers at the end of the day. And when consumers start seeing it and voting on it, trust me, then that's when you have that inflection point where you have that hockey stick of growth, because when they start voting for it, and they start voting for it in a positive way, you'll get a lot more of it.
One of the things I love, and I know that most know, I've lived in Columbus, Ohio for the past 20 years. So it's been awesome. And, DSW, Designer Brands, formerly known as DSW, has always been dear to my heart, and somewhere that I've been able to partner and work with in my past. But one of the things that I think that sets Designer Brands aside, and something that I'm even replicating and reflecting in my current business as head of diversity, equity, and inclusion for RG Berry as well, is you all made this commitment. We spoke about the $2 million investment, but one of the biggest things that I could say that I loved was the adjective to describe this commitment, which was your commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives were going to be action-oriented. And in reference to action-oriented, one of the things that I even love to see when you go from this stage of ideation from Dr. Edwards and his team, and, a shout out to everyone who has been a part of just even this coming into fruition to finally seeing it happen, is that it wasn't just an idea. It wasn't just, investing money and walking away from it. It wasn't just a couple days off and not really, you truly are putting action behind the ideation and the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. So my question for you is, this is the start. This is great. What does Designer Brands, what will they continue to do or go forward in reference to diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I'm going to go back a little bit to the comment I made about investing into a business. Mm-hmm. So as Jems continues to roll pairs off of the factory floor, guess who has to sell those pairs? DSW, right?
Yes.
So what I think about it is, every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, we've got new product, we've got different product, and we've got to go tell that story to the world. And we've got to go convince customers that they ought to go look at this product, that they ought to go try this product on and wear it. And I will tell you, in the last week, now it results around the launch, of course, but we've generated over 1 billion impressions about the launch of the shoe. And, that's very intentional. Mm-hmm. And we need to have that as part of as it relates to the Jems piece, a part of our ongoing commitment to be able to sell the shoes that we are now manufacturing together as partners. So, that's one that's built in, and why, the investment is so important. But then, I think about, okay, we're doing all this work all the time saying, where are customers? What do they want? What kind of shoes? And, we have DSW that sells shoes, but we own a whole bunch of brands as well. We own Keds, we own Topo Athletic, we own Vince Camuto, right? And we're trying to, make sure that all of our brands also reflect diversity. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it, think about, the marketing collateral that you're using.
Absolutely.
And being very intentional that we've got people of color and all ages, in our advertisements, right? And then when we think about, product, what kind of product different segments of consumer retail want, and really looking at it from a marketing and product, because that's what brands are. It's marketing and product at the end of the day, right? You start with product, and then you market your product in a way to be successful. So, you're going to continue to see, we've got what's so exciting and so cool about Designer Brands, we've got these BRGs, business resources groups, right? Which are self-made, they do their own thing. And a BRG is basically a group of individuals at our company that feel passionate about a particular topic. So we have, an African-American BRG, and they're very active. It's called My Soul. And My Soul is, they meet all the time, and they think about ways to push our company into be better for the Black community, right? And, we've got, Mi Voz, which is Hispanic heritage, and I'm actively involved in that group. And, so it's really wonderful, because though it's not like, hey, Dion, this is your job, you need to go do it.
Right.
It's, my name's Dion, and I'm very proud about what our company is doing, and therefore I'm going to invest my own personal time and effort into doing this. And when you've got it associate led from the inside, look, you've got to have, leadership has got to buy in and be a part of it. And I can tell you, that's done. We're there.
Yes.
But to see it from the ground up and how passionate our associates are about it, that's where you can really win, and that's where you can make meaningful change. Because if it's just an edict from the top, it's not going to get very far. But our associates are so passionate.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I love that you all are aligned in that way, for sure. Love it. I have to always ask, because I know you're like, you said it. You said we have to sell shoes, and that's the goal, in getting the consumer to buy in so we can continue this process going. What would be your perfect vision with reference to the success of Jems?
Oh, I've had a lot of long-term visions about what this can be. One, I would like to discover the next 5 to 10 great shoe designers and have them go through Pensole
The
go through
Pensole, of
Jems,
course,
right? Like,
right.
I mean, that's a heck of a pipeline when you really think about it.
It's the wraparound what you guys are creating, right?
yeah,
What's
I mean,
being created.
you can think of, great designers who are out there in the footwear business, and they all look a lot like me. But if we can create, people who've got those names and those brands, and they go forward, and because that's how they're going to change. We're going to change the footwear industry. Is those folks be successful? So that's a big goal. And I'll tell you the other goal. I mean, I would love to see. I've got a lot of friends in the footwear business, so I want to make sure this comes off the right way. But I want to see new and different product.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
to me, that's
Yes.
really exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
The innovation side.
Yes.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
If we bring different, new thinking and new ideas and new people into the footwear industry, it can be amazing what can come of that. And that is really exciting to me. So if it's new product and a whole new group of design talent, people who are seen as the leaders of footwear, and that changes over a period of time, I appreciate it's not an overnight thing. But we are making strides. I mean,
Yeah.
I will tell you that. And I think, I think this between what Pensole is doing and Jems is doing together, I do hope and expect the number of Black designers in the big companies to increase. And I think that's a really good thing for our industry.
Yeah, and I think, like, just to double down on that, my question is, like, Dwayne and I always speak about, providing access, like access to education, access to a career that you don't even know exists. You speak a lot today about, the designer, but there's a whole bunch of people who have to support the designer, even from a factory setting. Curious, like, what kind of other opportunities outside of the designer does this factory now give people opportunities to explore?
Yeah,
Right?
no, that's a
'Cause,
great
like,
question. Well,
yeah.
one, shoemaking,
Of
Yes.
course.
which is a
right?
lost art. Like,
Right.
And I've always said this for years. Anybody who has been to a shoe factory and sees how shoes are made will pay double for the value that they pay
Right.
today
Yeah.
for shoes.
Right.
Yes.
Because it is a
Right.
very manual, very skilled labor
Yes.
task.
Very
Yes.
tedious.
It's not you put
Yes.
it through a machine and it comes through the
Yes.
other side.
No.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is
Yes.
every
Yes.
shoe has a lot of love in it, and I really believe that. So I think there's an artisanship around making shoes,
making the shoe, right.
which,
Right.
which I think is cool, and I think a lot of people like Scott Hall think about it as an art, right?
Right. Right.
I think there's a huge marketing opportunity
Yep.
out of this as well, because yes, I always say there are three parts to building a great brand. First, you got to have great product. That's your designers, right? If you don't have great product, nothing else matters.
Right.
Second, you got to go tell the message.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's a story to
storytelling.
tell.
Yeah.
Right? Why is this product so great for the people who, why do you need to have it?
Yeah. Why
It's
does the
not a
consumer benefit?
Yes, right. And so I think there's a whole group of roles and jobs that go storytell in a different way than we do today. And then the third about brand building is your customers become your advocates, right?
Yes.
That's the nirvana.
Of course.
Of
course.
Hey, I don't have to market anymore because hey, the customer's telling everybody
Yeah,
about
they're
it.
talking about it. They're soft selling. They're wearing it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's super dope.
Yeah, and I think the beautiful thing too is when you're talking about just the storytelling piece too, who better to tell the story than those who know our history? And I know we talk about Jems, and you are fashionable in this. I've been trying to get this jacket off of him all day. I'm not gonna lie, I want my own. But can you tell a little bit of background in reference to the name and where Jems came from?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, Jems is an acronym for Jan Ernst Metzlinger, who is the gentleman who in 1883 invented the lasting machine. And if people who are in the footwear business know what a last is and a lasting machine is, before the lasting machine, you could do about 50 pairs a day. After the lasting machine, you could do 700 pairs.
A black man. That's awesome.
Changed the footwear business.
Changed it.
Like and as you've heard Dwayne say this. He didn't know that. I didn't know that. And I'm embarrassed that I didn't know that somebody who made the equivalent of the Gutenberg press, right, that changed the world. I mean, he did that.
Yeah.
And it's not recognized or celebrated in any real material way. So that's what Jems stands for. And then if you take that and say, okay, our shoes are gems.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Start to play off the word.
I mean, you can do a lot of storytelling and brand building off of that. And so, the drop that we had this last week on September 15th, that's called The First Gem.
Yeah.
Dr. Dwayne Edwards himself, and I'm wearing a pair today, designed the shoe, and they are remarkable. They are remarkable.
Yeah, we use the terminology
gems
gems here.
quite often.
Quite
Oh,
often.
really?
We say dropping gems and lighting the path forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with reference to Blacklights.
From a totally different angle, I know you got it off the ground. It's sexy. Everyone's excited. Maybe speak to some of the challenges to get it off the ground. Because I always say, people always see when you're running through the checkered line.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, that just came to overnight success. But think about when you guys had the first idea to where it is now and just all the stuff in between. Like, what did it take to get this off the ground?
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot more, as you said, people see the finish line. They don't see if it's a marathon, they don't see mile 17 where you're huffing and puffing. And,
Exactly.
I mean, when I think about some of the challenges that we had, getting equipment, so when you think about, there aren't a lot of factories in the United States that have footwear making equipment, lasting machines, or the right sewing machines, all this kind of stuff. So, we thought, oh, we'll just we'll write an order and it'll show up. Well,
Right.
post-pandemic with supply chain problems, prices had gone up quite a bit, and we reached out to some friends in Asia who run other factories, and told them what we were doing. And they were generous enough to help with some of the machinery.
Oh, perfect.
Helping us try to get it over here quicker, because we were delayed by 6 months or something because,
Wow.
The supply chain, it was, you couldn't get the stuff here. Finding the building that was the right size and the right place that matched where, the labor pool for shoes.
manufacturing, for factory,
Right,
yeah.
right, right.
It's a skill set, right? That was a process. Getting some of the materials that we wanted in order to make the first run of shoes, creating materials library. I mean, all of these different things. It was a lot.
I can only imagine
of delays but I think we had the fortitude to really want to push through. And the team that's running the factory, Karen Morris and Scott Hall, I mean, they are dedicated. They're dedicated to this mission, to this idea. Scott is a master craftsman when it comes to making shoes. So couldn't be happier to have him on board. And it has been a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Sounds about right.
But I think that's a good lesson for all entrepreneurs or people who want to
Absolutely.
start their own businesses. It is not just all roses, and you've got to persevere, and that's why success tastes better after you've had challenges.
Of course.
Yeah.
Totally
I always
honest.
say it's part of it. Like that's the challenge is part of it, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't even have fun with it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, you have to mentally prepare yourself for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple things that you said that I just wanted to ask you why I had you, because, we talked about just conversations with friends and in your circle of people. And, we've talked about it before, but in reference to 3% of the industry is represented, under 3%. Under 3% in the industry is represented by Black designers. And I know, again, I applaud the action-oriented commitment by designer brands in reference to diversity, equity, inclusion. But you've been in this industry for a very long time, and you're able to go in rooms and, advocate and ally on behalf of these initiatives. Tell me about those conversations, or tell me about in reference to what would you want your colleagues who look like you to know the value in reference to these relationships and the actions that you are putting forth. Because I know I have great relationships with, executive leadership, and we have many conversations, but curious in reference to just your allyship and the conversations that you have. Any advice that you would give to them with reference to just how they can also be an ally?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, I have had lots of conversations, especially, the great thing about opening Jems is it's given me an easy avenue to talk to other leaders in the footwear business about it. Because, and there is a lot more passion, be totally transparent, since 2020 around more diversity in the business. I mean, we've been that way for a long time, but I feel like, something happened. Well, I know what happened.
Yes. No, and listen, and I had it written May 25th,
there's a sense of urgency. For sure.
Yeah.
There was the murder of George Floyd,
Right.
and then you did see. But what I will tell you is this, and this is what we talk about, is that what I can tell you that I do appreciate about designer brands is that you have not let your foot off the gas with reference to your commitment, where you have other different brands where, it's been a financial contribution here and there. There's been a day off here and there. But what I do appreciate about is that you are actually, so that's where I'm saying is, how do we, or how do you go about having the conversation in rooms that not all of us get to sit in, to be able to make sure that there's still that authenticity in reference to just, the initiatives.
So the way I describe it to them is I don't try to push them to go do something. What I do is I say, we are doing this and we are seeing these tremendous benefits. Like if they think it's in their own best interest to do it because they see that we're winning because of this. When I think about why are you winning? Well, we're changing the business. We're getting unique product into our stores that nobody else has. We're telling a marketing story that is uplifting and positive, and people want to be a part of it. And, we've got 1 billion impressions this week around the opening of the factory. I mean, that stuff gets their attention, and they're like, well, how do I get some of that?
Right.
Right? As opposed to me trying to say, I really think you ought to go do this, that, or the other thing. That push, I'd rather that, I'm trying to help them get there. And by the way, I think most of the executives in the footwear industry are very open and want to do the right thing. I don't think it's a case of not wanting to do that, but they don't know how to do it, right? And so we've got to help them by, helping them hire young Black designers into their business, to, thinking about their marketing a little bit differently and telling a different message out to their customers, thinking about designing product that's more specific to Black consumers. And so, those are the ways I'm trying to influence and lead in this way. I think we're very overt about the fact that we're very supportive of this.
Yes.
And people across industry know it. And, it's hard for me to go to a 210 event or, a Fanny event and people not ask me about what we're doing.
Questions, for sure.
And that means people are paying attention.
Of course,
and,
of course.
And if we
Yes.
can continue to tell the story and tell successes, I mean, the best thing that can happen in my head is, hey, we have these shoe drops over the next 12 months. They're all really successful. And we're telling that story. That'll really get people's attention.
Yeah, and I think it's just crucial, even just, the key players in the room, having the diversity of thought. There's so much value in that, and making sure that we have diversity in, in the seats of decision making. And you have done a great job in that, with even reference to who's sitting on your board.
I was just thinking that, our board is, and I won't get all the numbers right, but we're more than 50% female.
Right. Yeah.
And we are more than 50% diverse.
Yeah.
People of color. And I'll tell you, that is the people in the room who are pushing us. I mean, the biggest advocates, we had a board meeting last week, and the biggest advocates of what we're doing are my board members.
Of course,
They're
of course,
like,
as they should be.
I mean, you guys are doing great stuff. Keep it going. I mean, they want to go tell all their friends about it.
Yeah.
And so we've, and And you think about we've got to find a way to get more executive leadership to be people of color.
Yes.
I mean, it will change a lot about the footwear industry.
Absolutely.
And with Jems being such a big project, I shouldn't even call it a project because now it's alive. And
it's a business.
It's a business.
The
It was
Jems
a project before, now it's a
Yeah.
business. I'm always thinking about when we're talking about creatives, people who they have their idea people, right? How does it create opportunities beside what they're doing? It's almost vendorship, right? Where it's like, now you have this factory. How do people work beside what you're doing versus inside of what you're doing? Like, what opportunities are you creating there? Because I feel like, especially with Black and brown communities, we'll put, let's be designers, but there's people who are not designers, right? So, like, how do they work alongside Jems so they can be a part of it if you're not a designer?
Yeah, no, Dwayne and Karen and I have been thinking about what ancillary roles besides the actual manufacturing roles, how do we help support these designers or young entrepreneurs? Maybe
Absolutely.
a better term.
That is a better
Yes.
term because
than
they're
designers.
thinking Jems is here. How can I be a part of it?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? How
Right.
can I grow with it?
Yeah.
Versus being employed by it.
Yes.
Right.
And how do we give in various disciplines? I keep going. My how do you build a brand? Product, marketing. I mean, to me, those are 1 and 2 of any brand that you want to build. And how do we get more people, not just on the design side, but on the marketing side, to go tell the story? I mean, I'm going to tell you the way Jems is going to win. It's not just because it's another piece of footwear inside of a DSW store that a customer walks by and goes, "Oh, that's a nice shoe." Mm-hmm. The way shoes manufactured Jems are going to win is people understand the story behind what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And then once people understand, hey, that shoe came from the only Black-owned footwear factory in the United States and was designed by a student, and there's only 2,000 of them available, all of a sudden, man, that's a powerful brand attribute that, okay, now I'll sit next to another shoe that, I kind of like it too, but now I've got a reason to buy it. That's a brand.
What's really interesting about that is, like, the way I'm hearing that is a young Black marketing agency would not even think about marketing a factory. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's a brand new opportunity that we've never seen before. Mm-hmm. So anyone listening, like, I'm literally giving you a layup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hit them. Because, like, agencies are thinking about the sneaker. They're not thinking about the production of the sneaker. And that has such a brand new storytelling opportunity.
I mean, the whole story is phenomenal. And that's, if we do our job right at the end of the day.
When,
correct. When we do our job, I mean, that's the story and that's the brand. And when you've got, brands win, right? They always win. And if when we cobble it all together, which is a pun, we will, consumers will gush to what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And then once you've got that brand and we introduce the next designer, that next designer is going to have instant credibility because they're backed by the brand,
of course,
and the whole storytelling around the brand. And that's how we can, create. I don't know anybody who's out in the footwear business trying to create new design talent and new opportunities and tell different stories in a really large and meaningful way today. Mm-hmm.
So, Bill, I have to ask you, because you've been in the industry for such a long time. Tell us a little bit just even about that journey for you. Mm-hmm. And did you ever envision what you see today?
So I tell people this, that, I started in the footwear business in 1953. And people say, man, you look really good.
The setup move.
But the reason I say that is my dad worked in the footwear business since 1953.
Wow.
And he worked for the same company, Endicott Johnson, that whole time. My dad was not a footwear executive. My dad ran shoe stores.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, when I was a kid, I would be in the back on, the weekends. I'd be back, kind of a sit and fit environment. My dad wore a suit and tie to work because that's back in the day how you did it. And, you know, having said that, I never fancied myself that I would ever be in the footwear business. Believe it or not, and I'll say this quietly, I went to law school and was a lawyer. But
Good for contracts.
But I became a lawyer out of law school for about 10 years, working for big companies, M&A, corporate mergers and acquisitions, that kind of stuff. And one of my clients, lo and behold, was at the time, very small business called DSW.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So DSW had about 100 stores. When I started at DSW in 2006, we had about 100 stores, and we're doing several $100 million, but is nowhere near what it is today. And, you know, they went public and they asked me to come on board. And I thought, you know, this seems very interesting. And a return to my roots in a way, but not that I ever really did anything with my dad other than probably annoy him because I was running around the back of the store. But, you know, joined there in 2006 as general counsel. And I think about, man, the amount of growth that has occurred in that business has just been unbelievable. I mean, it's been a rocket ship. So going from a few $100 million to, you know, I think last year we did $3.5 or $6 billion in footwear sales, right? And, you know, when I started, we didn't have DSW.com. There was, you know, it didn't exist. And, you know, to see that start up and grow, to grow to 500 stores, to acquire business in Canada and grow the Canadian business. And then, you know, now we're in the brands business and buying and doing brands. So, you know, over that 18-year period, you know, after 3 or 4 years, I kind of transitioned from legal to the business side. And I've been, you know, lucky enough to, you know, move to Canada and run the Canadian operation, which was really cool. I was president of DSW for a period of time, you know, and now I have this opportunity to oversee our brand portfolio, which I just absolutely love. I mean, just a, you know, great stable of brands and great people. And so it's been quite a journey over 18 years. As most people know, and at the end of the year, I'm going to retire from the business, which, you know, I've got real mixed feelings about. You know, I'm really looking forward to doing some stuff in my personal life, and, you know, I've made a lot of sacrifices over a period of time, but, you know, I'm also going to miss a lot. You know, and stuff like that. You know, like working with you know, Dwayne be you know, a great example of something I'll really miss, and all the people. And but, you know, I'm a big runner, and I've used this analogy many times. So I run every single day.
Okay.
Every single day.
Yeah, he said he ran this morning.
I ran this morning.
You got it in.
It'll be 10 years every single day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the day before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
And so a lot of things I do at work, I reference back to running because everybody knows I'm a big runner. And, you know, I'm thinking about my time at Designer Brands, DSW, not as a marathon, right? Because you'd say, hey, it's a marathon, you know, I'm getting to the last mile, I'm finishing it. I want to think about, I think about it more like a relay race, right? And so I've run my leg of the race, and it's time to pass the baton.
Pass the baton on. To
somebody who, you know, who's got different skill sets, you know, different thinking.
Yeah, it's
and
innovation.
Really, you know, do some stuff that I'm probably, because I've been there so long, I'm not going to push or do or think of. So, you know, I think it's really great for the company to, you know, to be able to go find somebody who can bring something different to the table and you know, further our change of the footwear business.
I mean, I feel like I have to ask, how did you come to that conclusion as someone who's, you know, obviously ambitious, but like coming to the conclusion where it's time to pass the baton?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I feel like I'm always curious for, you know, to say to yourself, you know what, I'm okay. You may not be okay with it actually, but you're willing to make that decision now.
Yeah. Well, it's not an easy decision.
Of course, of course.
I would say. But, you know, I've had some stuff in my personal life that relate to my family that tells me it's
time.
It's
time.
It's
Slow it
time.
down.
You
Yeah.
know, I know a lot of these roles seem sexy and great, and at times they are, but you also sacrifice a lot to do that, and so I just know
It's that time. It's that time.
Like
It's
just
divine.
one of
It's
those
that
things.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got some new leadership at Designer Brands too, which is perfect. I mean, it just, I think it's the right time. But I keep thinking about, I'm not going to go sit on the couch and do
Oh,
nothing.
no, no.
Yeah.
I'm not that kind
I
of
mean,
I
it's-
am curious on like what's next.
Yeah. So there will be some downtime
Okay,
for sure.
good.
And that's when you'll
100%.
figure out what next
Yeah,
really
probably
looks
a
like.
little bit more. But I do sit on the board of Rocky Brands,
Okay.
which is another footwear company.
Okay.
And I've done that for about 5 years, and so I will still be in the footwear business.
Yeah.
And being able to be around and talk about footwear and keep relationships there for sure.
Awesome.
The other thing that I do that I'm very passionate about as well is I chair the Columbus State College Foundation. So
Okay.
that is Columbus State is a community college in Columbus. It's the second largest school after Ohio State in the state of Ohio. And I am super excited to really roll up my sleeves and spend a lot of time with those folks over the next couple of years to really, I mean, that's an amazing institution that really gives a lot of people without economic means a chance to,
Got it.
to
And they
really-
have a fashion program, I believe, at there as well. So
There's a small fashion
There's a small
program.
fashion
It
program.
might be getting bigger.
yeah.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
I love that too. And Columbus is doing a lot of great things too. And I mean, granted, I'm going to tap you now that we're connected, but, with reference to the commitment to the youth and creating those pipelines from even high school students to universities such as Pensole Lewis College of Design and Columbus State and things like that. So we'll definitely have to talk. But I know for the Black Footwear Forum specifically, and in Columbus, we have our regional chapter that we spoke of, and we work very closely with Soul Classics and Columbus Fashion Alliance, and that is really, they're partnering together to be able to make sure that we have opportunities and can bridge the gap for the youth and help them get just really even knowing having the visibility to know that they have the opportunity for these different type of positions within our industry, whether it's design, whether it's on the brand side and the business side of things. So definitely love that you're a part of that, and we'll be tapping you on.
I think Yogi over at the
Yeah,
Columbus
Yogi.
Fashion
Shout out to
Alliance,
Yogi.
He does a great job, and what he's done with that group to really think about makers and creators, and the
Yes.
space he's got over in Franklinton is
Yes.
wonderful, and big fan.
Yes.
Big fan.
Perfect. Great. We work very closely together. So love that. Last question, just from me on my side with reference to, I know we kind of asked and you said you're going to take some downtime on what is next. But when you think about legacy, we like to talk a lot about legacy and what you want to leave for this industry. And I mean, your story already is phenomenal, and especially with the partnership with Pensole Inc. and Jems. But I am curious, like, what would you like in this time for your legacy to be, or what you would leave with all of us with reference to you and your legacy?
Well, I hope I'm not done sowing the seeds to my legacy yet, and can continue to have things. And as I said to Dwayne in front of the audience earlier today, when you first start, I remember when I came to DSW in 2006, and you're so excited. It's all about selling shoes and growing the business. But that's not legacy, right?
Yeah.
And I think as you get older and more mature, and if you've got kids, and you see them grow up and become
Their own people.
You really start thinking about legacy and what you're leaving behind, and what you can do to change the world. I mean, I say that all the time. Like, what are you doing to change the world? And that's sort of your legacy. I'm proud of what we do down here at Jems. I want to see it, and I've told Dwayne I'm around. I mean, whatever I can do to help, I will continue to help, because I really have a passion for seeing it succeed. And so I'm really proud about that. I'm really proud of the legacy of people that I've had the opportunity to hire within designer brands.
Yes.
And see how they have grown their career. And some of them aren't at DSW Designer Brands anymore, and that's okay. They're doing really great things. So part of it, part of your legacy is who you've hired, and are they successful?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because that really makes you feel, not that you've made the good decision, but you've helped them.
You've influenced, for sure.
Hopefully,
for sure.
Hopefully done that.
I always say you need to build people to leave, not to stay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Because if they leave and they go on and they do great things, then you're a part of their journey as well.
Yes.
Right?
100%. So, I'd like that to be part of the legacy. And, and I want to continue to work on how do I help give people opportunities? And, I talked about Columbus State, and, Columbus State is, in my head, a place of opportunity, right? It is, if you go to Columbus City schools, we have Columbus Promise in Columbus, and you can go to Columbus State for free, right? Like, that's a pathway that many students didn't have in the past. So how do I help give people opportunities? How do I connect people? How do I help raise them up, tell their stories, introduce them to other people? Those are things that I really want to continue to do, and will continue to do. I mean, I still have a toenail in the foot in the industry through Rocky, and we'll see. As I said to somebody the other day, so are you really going to be able to, really stop? And I said, well, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. That's the plan.
Yes.
And if I come, 9 months from now and I said,
I got an itch.
I got an itch, then
Yes.
I'll go scratch it.
Yes.
I'll do stuff. But, I am excited. I'm excited. I said to some folks in our business last week, I leave the business and the industry with gratitude for all the opportunities that I've been afforded over the years. I mean, I've been very lucky and had a lot of support and a lot of mentors and a lot of people who did a lot of really great things for me. And I leave proud of what we've accomplished. If I think about the growth of DSW and Designer Brands, if I think about our commitment to diversity, if I think about how I believe we treat people, I feel very proud of an 18-year career at one company.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Well, Bill, thank you so much for spending this time with us and telling your story, and looking forward to seeing what Jems becomes.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I'm, Pensole, but I know it's going to be amazing. And the opportunities you're creating for the community, not only inside of Jems but outside, is amazing that people really need to dive into. But thanks for sharing all this knowledge and your ambitions, and it's amazing to hear you talk today.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. This has been awesome. Thank you for having me today.
Of course. Thank you to Amazon Music for your continuous sponsor. And we thank you, Bill, for your time today. Appreciate you.